First off, thank you very much. I have 8 minutes and 52 seconds left to go here. I'm not quite sure. Come on, give me the full 10, please. What I thought I would do is I will do it. I don't know if any of you saw me present this morning on innovation. I think that's a real key point. I also want to thank Marin Katusa. Marin has actually made me one of his top 3 picks, and he just kind of said to me, just get it done, Garth. What a tremendous individual Marin is and what he's done for us. I thank him every single time, and the organization that he has assisted us in. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm not going to do my PowerPoint presentation because I think a lot of you know who Blackbird is. What I'm going to talk about is some near-term catalysts. And what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to thank Bank of Montreal. Bank of Montreal, anybody from Bank of Montreal here? Thank you, Bank of Montreal. We spent a fair amount of time with them, and they actually authorized us to actually use a draft report that's coming out, and they looked at the Montney, and they looked at the liquid-rich Montney, and they said, we're going to identify in Alberta the 5 key areas that are liquid-rich and have economic value, and I actually pointed them out, and here's where Blackbird sits within that area. And I'm just going to flick ahead. This is them focusing on it. Where's the ingression in regards to drilling is now coming into Alberta. And what has happened is that liquid-rich area that they've identified and the #1 value achievement area within their report that they're actually going to send out for those that are at Bank of Montreal, I understand it's going out near the end of this month or early next month, is that Pipestone stands as one of the most liquid-rich areas. Marin talked about it this morning. The oil and gas sector is full of different commodities. Condensate is the gold in the mining side within the oil and gas sector. This is what we get for an absolute premium product. I kind of flicked through it, but I'll sit it there. Last week we were selling a condensate very close, $80 a barrel. Okay, 75% of my revenue comes from condensate, 25% from my gas. And we don't see this ending. Peters & Co., another investment bank, well-regarded, specifically in Calgary, indicates that condensate demand, we're importing about 225,000 barrels every single day into Alberta. This gives us a premium. In December, we were getting about a $3.80 premium over WTI plus the foreign exchange. This month, we're getting about a $1.88 premium over WTI. I'm not sure what February looks like, but it looks very strong as well. What I loved about the BMO report is they've gone and done such an in-depth analysis of every operator within their specific corridor. And one of the things that they looked at, and I'm just going to jump ahead, was Encana's well logs, which we spent about 2 hours doing technical review with them, tying in the geology from Encana throughout our whole land base. And one of the conclusions was that geological consistency, I say it at the bottom, we've got the rock. Now, we've looked at 3,000 well logs. We've drilled 16 wells. We're testing 3 wells very near term. One's already tested. We're going to test 2 more shortly. But what that is that what they feature is that Encana, who's about 120 wells into this resource, right beside us, has an internal rate of return of 350%. No one else has that. And what's impressive for a Blackbird is that we're really, for ourselves, our sole wells, 9 wells into it, we're at 74% internal rate of return, and we can graduate up. And Canada's doing a little bit higher intensity, their spacing on their intervals is a little tighter, but what this tells me is we can graduate our resource up to approach maybe in Canada's resource economic returns. Well, we announced just a little over 2 weeks ago 3 well results and where they sat within the industry. And those 3 well results actually have some of the highest condensate gas ratios on a per linear meter basis. We've got more wells, and what we're really trying to send a message to the marketplace is that we're very, very productive on condensate, and it is unique. A number of companies are sitting out there with 15, 25, 50 barrels per million. We've got wells that have condensate gas ratios of over 400 barrels per million. This really is Cormark's research on where we stand within the production, where our revenue is, about 75% is all of our revenue is related to the condensate. We continue to see that growing. What's happening around us? Outside of the oil sands, Grande Prairie, Alberta is the most intense area for infrastructure and drilling. We've had 120 wells drilled in the Montney in this area last year. To date, this year, we have 180 wells being licensed. We have 5 new sour processing facilities coming into this area. By 2022, it is projected that sour processing in this Grande Prairie corridor will be up to 1.1 to 1.2 billion cubic feet of gas a day. I met with Macquarie last week, and one of the things they said to us is you're in the sweet spot because this area has the gathering, TransCanada, Nova, Alliance, and you don't have the issues of what is happening in Northeast BC with constriction at Station 2. Real problems getting the gas out there. Blackbird sells its gas right into Chicago at this initial time. I'm actually contracting over the next 2 weeks long-term takeaway for a 20 and a 30 million a day production, and we're still looking at taking our gas into the U.S., not dropping it into AECO. Near-term catalysts for my investors is that we've talked about, we've got this activity on a general basis. What's happening in the next 45 days? We've just finished testing Upper Montney on the western edge of of our land. It's number 1. We're now moving our testers as of tomorrow over to a Middle Montney test. This well was interesting. We actually completed that well, and only about 5% of the wellbore was actually completed. We had to come back and recomplete it. But on initial production, this well produced 398 barrels of condensate and 250,000 feet of gas. Now we've gone and completed 100%. Now you cannot do the math and say, well, we'll upsize that by 95% and we'll get a new number. But we're very confident that this Middle Montney test is going to delineate and create significant delineation and value for us for this corridor. Post that well being done in about 7 to 10 days, we're going to move to an Upper Montney well, which is our 3 at 27, that's number 3. And that's a well that's in near proximity to Encana's wells, CNQ, and Kelt. And this is the first well that we actually have drilled where we've had condensate come up as we were drilling it, and it came over the shaker. So we're looking forward to seeing the results on this well. We believe it to be a very liquid rich. This was a very sandstone area of the Montney that we drilled into, and we're very positive about it. Blackbird is an innovator. One of the things that I've talked about this morning is differentiation of our company and how we were able to get attention and differentiate ourselves as just another Montney player. I've talked about this from the standpoint of stage completions. Stage is actually accelerated. We've moved through an initial rollout cycle to full development cycle. We have now 4 super majors that are using the stage system. For the month of January, we're right around 38 to 40 million US in sales in the United States alone. And we continue to drive down our costs and increase our intensity of completions with this system. Blackbird owns 10% of this company. It's privately held outside of that. I'm going to go right here. What we've done is I'm trying to eliminate barriers for value. And one of the last things we did was we entered into a sour processing agreement with Tidewater. This is the only deep cut facility that was available in our area. We were the anchor tenant for that corridor, so we were able to get a tremendous pricing on our transportation and processing. This is the only facility that I could gain ownership. I plan to own 20% of this facility, and it has also a sweet disposal where I can store my gas in 100 BCF. This is potentially going to be one of the largest buyers of gas in the Montney over the next 5 years. I finished on time, and I want to thank you for all of you. I'll be back at my booth, and if you want to come and chat with me, and thank you for being an investor. I appreciate it tremendously.